All right, hello. Today we have somebody saying in Reddit's True Unpopular Opinion subreddit, someone saying the I'm a proud Democrat or I'm a proud Republican way of thinking needs to go. All right. OP says, warning, I'll be using fiery language in this probably. Oh boy. I have to be careful and not use bad words because I think that's why my comments keep getting turned off. So I gotta be careful here. Wish me luck. OP says, okay, here's the deal. There's a disease in the United States. Anytime somebody describes a social issue as a disease, that's not a good sign of what's to come in whatever opinion they have. Just saying. Just in my experience. They say that disease being the partisan based thinking in the US. I do think the polarization in the US is a huge issue. Like, Democrats and Republican minded people aren't able to like come together and like talk about things or understand each other. I'm not saying let Republicans take away trans rights or do racist things or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, understand why they have the reservations they do about people who are not like them, and trying to work with that, trying to like help them overcome that. Or some people believe that that is impossible, and there probably are there probably is that section of people that is like completely impossible, but I don't think that's the case with everybody. There was one guy who was able to talk to like, he basically went into like the KKK, and he basically convinced like 150 of them or something like that to stop being members of that group, just by like understanding why they held the views they did. So it's not completely impossible. But yeah, like, I do think that there is work that can be done to decrease the polarization. We probably won't fix it completely, but I do think this idea that it's impossible, I don't think that really helps. Just saying. So polarization is bad, but I don't think it's bad. All that being said, I don't think it's bad to like have beliefs that lean one way or the other. Just like but you need to be able to like understand everybody. Like, having beliefs is good, that's human, but like, we need to be able to not immediately take down somebody who we need to be able to not immediately resort to like decimating somebody verbally who disagrees with us, basically. So OP goes on to say, the people who put blue or red wave in their Twitter bios really piss me off. So do the I'm a lifelong Democrat and I'm a proud Republican. I don't know. Like, that alone, like, the blue and red wave, I'd say is, bad. Well, not bad, but like, sorry, I'm just trying to figure out if that P word I said is a word that YouTube censors. But anyway, they say, I think the blue/red wave thing is kind of arguably, a bit passive aggressive, as far as like, forget what anybody else says. Like, my way of thinking should be what everybody thinks. I do think that that's a bit, I think that's a bit unhelpful, basically. So there is that. Let's see. They say, generally speaking, these people are so deep in their partisan ideology that it utterly destroys their ability to come to objective conclusions and ideas. let's see. Yeah, like it can. That's my opinion about that. Like it potentially can like make it hard for people to, accept other people's opinions. To like be able to not accept other people's opinions. It can make it hard for these people to like yeah, to basically like take in new information and allow that to like impact their perspective. Like I do agree that sticking really hard to one side or the other makes it hard to take in new information and have that change your perspective. I agree with that. They say that people need to get away from the I'm a proud Republican or Democrat thinking. It suggests a lack of intelligence to think about problems and ideas without your political ideology being the dominating vector behind your thought process. No, I think frameworks are good to, think things through. Like, don't let it be the only way you think about a problem. Like, allow yourself to think outside of that framework, but having the framework, to begin with isn't a bad thing. They say it's so absurdly stupid and counterproductive for solving issues that it makes me angry. Yeah, it can prevent people from coming up with solutions to solve problems if they're just thinking one way and not considering, like the other side of the coin, and kind of like if they're like literally refusing to, step outside of that ideology and think about things from a different perspective, then that can be detrimental that can make it hard to come up with a strong solution if they're only thinking through things through one headspace. I agree with that. They say if there's anyone out there that knows they fit in the group of people I just described, know that I don't hate you, just the way that you currently think. That's good to indicate. That's good to yeah. They say it seems to me that true political discussion and debate usually resolve around problems. Yeah. I think the best way to approach a political topic or any problem is to first figure out the right questions to ask, such as, what is the optimal solution? Yeah, like, because sometimes discussions just kind of like hang on like, defining the problem, pedantic, semantic arguments, things like that. But if you go into a discussion, like aiming to, figure out what a good solution is and like how, like you should definitely define the problem, make sure you're on the same page about the problem, but like after that you do want to work together to like you want to discuss what would be an optimal solution, and if if like the solution one person is describing, if the other person feels that they're leaving something out, they're not considering something, then they should mention that. They should bring that up in a polite way, like not in a finger pointy, you're not thinking about type way, but polite. But yeah, like Zoe B has a really great video about how to go about arguments, and that really helps you actually argue in a constructive way. Following that template, I know it's hard to do because a lot of these topics can be very emotional, but I do think that's the best way to go about arguments. But yeah, they say, I think okay, all right. OP says, and then what set of actions are needed to reach that solution? Yeah, because like even once you've kind of narrowed down the optimal solution, the actions to get there, there can be, a discussion about that too. There can be disagreement about that. There can be, a productive discussion you can have in that area too about like what is the best way to, get the solution. I mean, there are different ways to, for a light example, get a pizza to a person's house, the best way possible. Like, oh, you want to use a drone. Like, how do you use the drone? Should it come from the pizza place, or should the drone, come from a drone parking lot and go to the pizza place? What are the benefits and drawbacks by the solution? Like, you can have like whole discussions about different paths that can be taken to reach the same goal, and those can be really fun and constructive, and you can learn a lot about different people, and that would actually help you, step out of the, super hardline Democrat or Republican way of thinking. So there's that. They say, also, I think it's valuable to question a lot of your preconceptions or what you think you know. Yeah, like, be able to, put on the table, like, here's what I thought coming into this, and, somebody can, give their opinion about, what you're thinking, and you're able to kind of, like, decide, if you have an open mind, okay, like, that's a good point, I'm gonna change my mind, or no, I still think whatever, yeah, definitely keep yourself open to new perspectives. So OP says, so yeah, to all of you highly partisan people, next time a political discussion pops up, don't throw out some partisan knee-jerk response, and instead turn it into a thinking exercise. It's actually kind of fun. Yeah, it can be kind of fun as long as the other people involved are polite about it. It becomes harder when other people aren't on that same I want to learn from you page and are instead more interested in like convincing you that they're right. And then when you kind of point that out, they kind of gaslight you and say like, no, you're the one who's you're the one who can't take a disagreement. No, I'm trying to like actually come with a solution here. I'm not trying to, stew in a disagreement. That's the whole point. Like, yeah, that's how argument, that's what makes this hard. It's, I think a lot of people want, to have discussions like this in theory, but in actuality, like, there are all these people who would rather like stew in their disagreement and just throw disagreements back and forth than actually, coming together and like putting in effort to understand each other and like going toward a solution. Even I have work to do on that end, and like, yeah, like if we could do that, we'd be a lot closer to solving problems in a way that doesn't, like completely leave a whole bunch of people just like in the dark, with a solution to a problem that like really doesn't gel with them at all. Like, people need to be understood, and people need to be involved in whatever solution, or the solution's just going to fall apart if a large group of people is left out of it. I mean, kind of why, a bunch of like Republicans or independent people felt so disenfranchised during the Obama era that they went with Trump when the time came, because, the solutions that were being used, I mean, they weren't really helpful to those people. So that's why that's why Trump got so much support. That's why, the 2016 election, well, part of the reason why the 2016 election ended up the way it did, and the 2020 election was so close, because, there are a lot of people who don't feel heard in, the Democratic sphere, for example. Just like Democrats don't feel, respected or represented in the Republican way of thinking. It's because the two, half hemispheres haven't. It's because the two hemispheres haven't, come together to actually, hear each other out and hear each other's needs out. And, like, it's gonna be a messy, complicated process, but I don't think too many people are really trying for that. Most people don't believe that that can happen. So that's why we're kind of in the place we are right now. So, but yeah, that's just my 2 cents. I want to be part of, helping out, helping people kind of like work together, helping people understand each other. I want to be part of that discussion, and I'll, do my best wherever possible. But yeah, let's see what some commenters say about OP's speech. Because I'm really interested. It's always interesting to see, when this proposal of we need to, come together and like work together, when that topic comes up, like how people think about it. Because like I know Joe Biden, his presidency and like trying to like compromise with Congress, I know that that's kind of like not worked super well. So I know that that like has kind of left a sour taste in people's mouths about, coming together, working together. But I do think that, we do have to find a good way to like work together, or this country's gonna like fall apart. Like it already kind of is, but it already kind of is falling apart. But we do need to like find a good way to like, unite everybody. Essentially, that's why people talk about needing a president. When the presidential election comes around, like this is why people talk about we need a president who actually unites the nation. It sounds like a media, fancy talking point, but it's actually a very valid concern and need to like unite the people to so that we don't fall apart as a nation, basically. So let's see what people say. One person says, I think it's appropriate to say that I align with the Democrats in this instance, or I agree with the Republicans in this specific issue. As long as you keep it in this regarding like a specific issue, then that's okay. The cult mentality of following a single leader or aligning your whole ideology based on one party just isn't productive for democracy. Exactly. You gotta think about it that way. Like, what is productive? Oh, like maybe not, think about it in like what is productive, but like what is gonna like serve the best people, the most people. Yeah, like what is most productive in a democracy where, you're trying to serve the majority. Yeah. But, like don't, completely throw out the minority, but yeah. Yeah, just, I don't know, like just remember, like anytime you have a majority rules thing vote, like there's always going to be some minority that kind of feels like they got the short end of the stick. So just remember that. Yeah. Someone says, I'm a nun and I'm neither proud nor ashamed of it. It is what it is. Okay. Someone else says, I'm independent, not the party, but usually vote Democrat because they are closer aligned to my ideals, but I still find them inept. Fair. Like, you gotta, I think they'd be less inept if they were open to, like, getting ideas from, like, other places, like, wanting to, well, I actually think that the reason they are a bit inept is potentially because, they are trying too hard to compromise. Like, they have good intentions, but, like, because the Republicans aren't, willing to compromise. I mean, naturally, the solution would be what people want the Democrats to do is to, commit to be left and progressive, but like, then you still have a standstill because like you have just two polarizing sides and nothing gets done. So that's why, both parties need to be willing to, come together, but like Republicans especially don't seem to be willing to play that game. So that's why we're kind of stuck where we are right now. Like, okay. And last person says, you won't find many people who feel that strongly about either party. That's true. I get that. They say, but plenty of left and right. Yeah, like plenty of people will have picked, whether they're left or right. But like not too many will be like super into like whatever party represents supposedly that ideology. They'll just have like a clear ideology when you ask them about how they feel about different issues, and you kind of like look at the average kind of thought process. But yeah, what is your opinion? How should unity look in the US? Sorry, this is a US centric video in case you somehow haven't noticed by now, but like, what does unity look like to you? Comment down below if the comments haven't been shut off. Like and subscribe if you like this, and I've been CoolHotTakes. See you next time.